It's food from the heart to warm your soul. I'm making a delicious spinach and cheese stuffed pasta shells that everyone's gonna love. So let's get started. I'm going to start by making the spinach portion of the filling. Now you can leave this out entirely and go all cheese, that's totally up to you. But I like to put the spinach in there because I do like it, and it gives me the illusion of something slightly healthy in these. So what I've got here is one 10-ounce package of frozen spinach, and it's got a ton of water in it that I'm going to want to press out. So the kind of TV way to do it would be to take my spinach and put it in a strainer and press some of that water out. You can see it coming right out already. But I think we all know the best way to do it is to just take that package of spinach and squeeze the heck out of it. Much easier. Now the reason I'm using frozen spinach instead of fresh spinach is that while fresh spinach is great for making salads and stuff, if I take a big old bag full of that fresh spinach and I saute it down, I'm gonna get about a tablespoon of spinach. So with the frozen spinach, it's much more like what you see is what you get. And to get this much spinach with fresh spinach, I think I'd have to harvest a good couple of acres. Okay, I'm gonna put in a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. Heat this pan up to sort of medium-low heat. I'll actually just go ahead and throw that minced garlic in there. Now as this comes up to temp and the garlic starts to sizzle a little bit, you don't want to let that go too long or you'll kind of burn the garlic and it'll get a bitter taste to it. So once you start seeing that sizzle, just give it a minute or so and it's going to pull out a lot of garlic flavor, and then we'll cool it down with the spinach. Okay, let's bring in our spinach. I'm just going to kind of spread that around. Give that a nice pinch of salt. And some black pepper. And we'll go about medium heat, and we'll saute that for 2 or 3 minutes, just until it gets nice and warm all the way through and softens up just a little bit. But don't cook it so long that it turns brown on you. Now my spinach is nice and hot. It's only been cooking for a few minutes. We'll get a little taste of that and check it for seasoning. Nice and garlicky, but need a little bit more salt. And now I'll take this off the heat and let it cool down for a little while until it's cool enough that I can handle it. Let's put together the cheese portion of the filling, and it couldn't be easier. I got a pound of ricotta cheese. You can use whole milk ricotta or part skim ricotta. That's up to you and your lifestyle. I've got a half cup of grated Parmesan, and again, this is the cheap stuff, but you use the Parmesan that fits your budget. I've got a half cup of mozzarella for some ooey gooiness, and I got an egg from the chicken coop. So we're just gonna mix all of this together. Get my Parmesan in there, my mozzarella. I'm actually gonna hold off on the egg until I stir it together and taste it, so I'm not eating the raw egg. Well, we're definitely gonna need a small pinch of salt. Not too much because the Parmesan's pretty salty, but just a little bit in there. Now, we'll give that a taste. That's just about right. So now, we'll put in the egg, and this is just gonna help bind this together and maybe give it a little bit of fluffiness. Make sure I got no shells in there. Boom, right in. Just give that a stir. You could stir in some fresh basil here too, but I've got other plans for my basil in this particular recipe. Just get everything thoroughly mixed together and we'll move on to cooking our pasta. Looks great. I'm getting ready to boil my shells, and I don't know if you want to call it a tip or a trick or just a little hint, but if you put them in the dish that you're going to be using to bake this before you boil them, that'll kind of give you a rough idea of how many to cook. Now keep in mind they're going to swell up a little bit, and I always throw in a couple extra to account for any breakage, but this does give me a really good starting point. Oh, I got some nice boiling water. I'll add some salt in there and toss in my noodles. I'm gonna boil these for 9 minutes or just until they're getting kind of soft. They're not gonna be completely done. They're gonna be pretty al dente. They'll be pliable enough that I can stuff them. They're gonna bake some more and that's when they'll finish cooking. Now these are looking pretty good. I can feel that they're not all the way done because they're not super soft, but they are soft enough that they'll open up and I can stuff them hopefully without tearing them. And that did take about 12 minutes, so you really just need to start with the instructions on the package and then use your feels to find out when they're really done. So I'm gonna go strain these and be right back. Alright, I got my hot nudes here. Now I want to hit those with a little olive oil to keep those from sticking together both while I'm working with them here and when they bake. Just a little light coating will be fine. Now, as soon as these are cool enough that I can handle them, I'll get to stuffing them. So now is a really good time to get your oven preheating to 375 degrees. I'm gonna start with some of my own homemade marinara here, and I don't have a recipe for this yet. It involves eggplants and anchovies, which are kind of polarizing ingredients, but they do make for a really robust sauce with a ton of umami. But I'm sure you've got your favorite red sauce too, so go ahead and use whatever you like here. And it's not too thick a layer of sauce. I want these to rest on top of the sauce rather than being kind of submerged down in there. I'm gonna finish them with some extra sauce later, but I just think hopefully that'll keep them to be a little more pretty if they're not completely submerged down in the sauce. So, like I said, I am gonna get some fresh basil in there, of course. I really love the flavor, but the way I like to do it is to put the fresh basil leaf right down in the bottom of that shell because it fits almost like they were meant to go there. Now, you could cut the basil up and mix it all in your spinach or your cheese, but this is the way that I like to do it. Now, we'll get a pinch of that spinach filling, put it right on top of that basil leaf. Now, if you're feeling extra cheesy, you can sprinkle a little Parmesan right on top of there, but I've got some in my cheese mix, so I'm not going to worry about that. Now, just put a nice scoop of that cheese in there. And I like to mound it up just a little bit. Just like so. Now, nestle that into the sauce. And that little bit of oil on the shells is also going to help it to keep from sticking to the side of the dish here. Now, let's get some more going. Oh, baby. I think this is my wife's favorite of all, but it's hard to say. There we go. I was even able to arrange that in kind of a pretty pattern. And so that recipe did 12 of these jumbo shells. Now, am I going to remember that for next time? Probably not, but that's why I make the videos. So, now I'm going to finish this off with a little dollop of sauce and some cheese, and then I'm going to cover this with foil and pop it in that oven. So, a little bit of sauce, kind of right over the middle. I'm going to add sauce to the plate at the end though, so if you're a big sauce lover, don't worry that I'm not going that heavy on the sauce. Go, and now I'll just hit those with a little bit of mozzarella over the top. Just a scant smattering. I'm covering this with foil because there's not a ton of sauce in there, and I want the moisture to stay in and finish cooking off those noodles. If I made one with a whole lot of sauce in there, I wouldn't bother covering this up. I'd let that sauce kind of boil in there, and that would finish cooking the noodles as well. There we go. Now, I'm going to pop this into my 375 degree oven for 40 minutes. Watch out for any steam that comes out of there when you take the top off. I let that cool down for a good 20 minutes, and then I put some of that warm marinara down on the plate and put a couple of those on top for a real pretty presentation. But what really matters is how this tastes, so let's see how we did. Now, you definitely don't need a knife for this, but I want to kind of get a good look at the inside and see how that looks. Because you can, real nice. You can, of course, mix the spinach and the cheese and everything together and then just stuff that in there, but it's not going to give you this pretty kind of layered effect. Ooh, how about that bite? Oh man. Now there's a dish the likes of which may someday be achieved, but never surpassed. I kid, but really, it's super good. I mean, how can you go wrong with those ingredients? It's got that classic mix of a rich tomato sauce and lots of cheese and those fresh herbs. So good. Well, that one hits down deep and bumps every feel-good branch on the way down. So good. Well, I really hope you try this, and I know you're gonna love it. Thanks for watching.